So now we are recording. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So we were getting into sensitivity as a strength and what is sensitivity. So um, sensitivity is actually a form of intelligence. And we often think of intelligence as coming from our head or from our mind or our brain, but so much of it actually is coming from our bodies. And that ability to sense is constantly, it's a sort of a intelligent system that we all have, which is always communicating with us. And it is sort of a way that we can receive information is when we sense things. So being sensitive is a way to actually detect like what is out of integrity. So whether that be outside in the world, whether we witness something and we feel that, or whether it's something in our own lives, like a relationship or something with our work life, and we just have this sense about it. And it's actually really important for our survival, and it's very much like a basic thing that just lets us sort of detect and discern, what we want and what we don't want. Like what's like it allows us to shift through this contrast reality of like, this is like out of integrity, right? So so what you can do is when you feel really sensitive or you feel really triggered, the first thing you can do is just appreciate that it's there and that that you have detected this, and just be like, oh, thank you. Like now I know how I feel about this or about that. That's kind of like step one in my experience of like feeling that sense of just like uncomfortability because of something you witness, for example. And it's so powerful to really allow those things to affect you, to not take over your life, but to be made to be impressed upon by whatever it might be. So to really see it as information, and to know that you are very intelligent, and to thank yourself for that form of intelligence that you all have. So to be, I already said being thankful. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Okay, yeah. So I was talking about how it's like this way of seeing what is almost like invisible. It's like your way of like seeing through the dark. And what do we kind of like do with this? And it's not always about the action space of like, okay, I feel this, therefore I'm going to do this. Or I'm really hurting right now, so I'm going to go take it out on somebody, or whatever it might be. So what I would like invite, when something like the coronavirus outbreaks and you're actually like fearing for your life, or when we have what's happening in the streets with police brutality, or when you're bearing witness outside of a slaughterhouse, like any of these experiences that we just are like so salient to us and so having such an effect on us, what I would invite you to do is like, before you just go on like an immediate like, I need to do something about this, is I would invite you to sit with it, whatever, and to allow yourself to just be present with it. It doesn't have to be sitting in meditation, but it could be, to just allow yourself to actually feel it and to process it. And if it's something, and I would also say to like choose one specific thing. So don't just be like, oh my gosh, like the entire world's on fire. Like, designate your attention to, maybe you were at a slaughterhouse and you saw like thousands of animals going in to be killed. Maybe you focus on one individual who you connected to, and maybe you have a photo, or you just remember in your mind, and you really allow yourself to connect with that individual and to really like feel like their experience. You don't have to, however it might feel to you, to just be present with it. And I'm not saying that that's going to be like super comfortable, or I'm not saying it's going to like solve the problems of the world, but it's, I think, a step in then knowing what's the right thing to do next, like really heeding that wisdom from your body and from all of your senses of like, where do we go? And it doesn't necessarily need to be that you respond with an action. It might just be that you take a break for the day.
I opened the door for her. She might want to come in.
So, so what I wanted to say also is like, when you're in those places where you feel like really you feel sensitive and you feel like something has impacted you, to really like process it for yourself first, show up for yourself before you then go and show up for others. So before you then go and like post about it, or you write something on social media about it, or you can do all those things, but I would just invite yourself to like sit with it and let it kind of marinate. Because when you get into that state of that, like receiving it and feeling it fully, then your response and like the way that your next steps that you take will be coming really from like more of a soul level instead of from like an ego level. Not that it's always coming from an ego, but just it will, I think, then make you feel better, and people will respond better to it because it's your raw experience of it. And also like to actually sit in meditation and to actually pray for one individual animal, or focus on them or meditate on them or whatever, like that in itself is like activism. Like that in itself is like a radical thing that most other people will never, like, don't do. So to give that kind of attention is powerful, because like the whole world is telling us not to do that. The whole world is telling us not to care, to be callous, like to just keep going forward. Even in the activism space, go to a protest, go to a disruption, like go to a vigil, and it's like, well, hold on, let me just feel this. That is its own form of that, like that is an act, like that's you caring. And you're just being real. So so to just kind of stop trying so much and to get into more of this receptive mode, this could also be called yin, as opposed to action, and doing is yang energy. So to just being instead of doing, and this is all part of the whole. This is part of the entire picture of life. It's that portion of rest is equally as important as the doing. It's equally as not only important but necessary. And all of us as human beings, as beings, it doesn't matter if you're a human or not, like that is all of our birthrights, is to be able to rest and to be able to take that time for ourselves. Like that's part of what this whole life thing is about. So it's not like you need to earn your rest. You don't ever have to, like, that's kind of what the world will tell you, because the world operates in this sort of like continual growth pattern. Like everything needs to be on a line going forward, and it's all about progress. And but life is actually parts of a whole, and it's more of a cyclical. I'm not going to get too much into that, but but yeah, so there's like this sense of activism in the being, and it's important for us as activists, but also for the way that we're doing activism and the way that activism can be done. It can also just be existence and be being. It doesn't have to be doing. It can just like, that's your embodied activism. So and then the last thing is like, when you're in that allowing and receptive state, like when you're in meditation, that's often when you get those inspired ideas or those impulses or those, like, that's really the birthplace of all creative processes. So it's just a part of the equation. Like, it's just, don't ever beat up on yourself for resting. It's actually the opposite. Rest more, way more. So I think the next thing is that I wanted to give an example of, and again, like I said in the beginning, like, this is just my experience. It could look different than yours. I'm just gonna give one example of a way that I listen to my body, and I listen to the wisdom that comes from being a sensitive person, and how I went about how I did this. I will say it in a second, and how it helped so much with my own self-love and self-care and my own liberation, and simultaneously it helped those around me, and ultimately was better for the planet. So there's this stress that we all know that comes in living in this life of that's just so not truthful, right? Like, it's just this, we live in this world of like fake peace where people sit down and they thank God, and then they eat someone who suffered immensely and whose life was taken. And so the thing that I actually haven't even talked about this on social media, I haven't been public about this, but I wanted to talk about it here because I was like, this is a safe space and this is the total appropriate way to bring this up. And so about a year ago, I started living most of you know what the Liberation Pledge is. I stopped eating at tables where just blatant violence was being served and being eaten. Because after so many years of being a vegan and always eating my vegan food at non-vegan tables, there was always something inside of me that just felt like not good about it. And, it always brought this sense of like uncomfortability. And I never questioned it. I always did it anyway. And I didn't really want to disrupt anything, and I didn't want to make anyone else uncomfortable. But at the same time, I was uncomfortable. And at the same time, how was I doing the right thing by me if if the humans around me didn't know really how I actually felt, and if I was just playing into this by acting like everything was fine when internally, like, my body was like sensitive to it, and my body was like, I don't really like this. And so taking the Liberation Pledge for me was like a very clear sort of moment where I was instantaneously like self-liberating myself. I was feeling so much better about like just everyday life, literally. I felt so free. And I felt like I was respecting non-human animals in a consistent way. And it was also the right thing for the humans for me to do that I so dearly hold in my heart, because for them, they just, none of them vegan. There's the people who are closest to me, some of them are vegan, but most of those they live on the other parts of the world. So the ones who I'm not vegan. And so to do this and to take this next step was, if veganism was like the first step of sort of boycotting, I think of it as like a boycott of like the exploiting others for profit, boycotting it as best as you can, then the Liberation Pledge to me was like its natural progression. It was like the next kind of boycott, and it was a natural one. And so it was actually benefiting all of the humans in my life, because they then were able to be even closer to me, because they could really understand what I was feeling on a day-to-day basis. And they could, connect with me on that thing that I care so much about. And, they naturally all started to eat more plant-based foods. And they all, obviously it meant that we would be sharing plant-based meals together and so on and so forth. I'm not saying this was easy. Like, this was really hard for me, because it's kind of scary to take that step. But it was ultimately the right thing for everybody kind of involved. And so so that is like an example of me kind of taking what I understand in my experience and in my energy field and being like, I don't like this, and how can I, like, that's one of the best examples I can give of how I turned something that was uncomfortable into something really beautiful. And I don't know if anybody else, yeah. Thanks, Leo. Yeah, if anybody else has like had a similar experience, like, let me know. Or if that's like interesting to you. And again, I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm just sharing my experience. So, sorry, just one sec. Yeah, I have a friend, one of my teachers / friends, who says, like, she talks a lot about putting up these boundaries. And for me, this was just a really strong boundary that I needed to put up. And not only that, like, I needed to put up, but it was just for the benefit of everyone, because it was truthful and I was acting in alignment, and it helps non-human animals in some small way. And it helps our relationship, because there's a more understanding and there's more consistency, in the same way that if you were if most humans, if they were sitting at a table and someone was eating like a deceased human being, they probably wouldn't like it, and they probably would get up and sit somewhere else, or even if it was a dog, like they wouldn't want to eat at that table. So it's kind of just like, when we do that, it's really just us being consistent in like what we already sort of feel on a regular basis. It's just actually like living it, sort of, in the way that others live that for dogs or humans. And yeah, so I was saying, my friend Brianna, she says boundaries are like how we move from victim to creator. And so I love that, because it's like, by me not taking the Liberation Pledge, I would just continue to be like a victim or whatever of my uncomfortability sitting at those tables and condoning that violence. And instead, I was able to create more plant-based tables and things like that. Does anyone have any questions or anything that they wanted to respond to from what I've said?
Sorry, I have a question about what you mentioned, of not sharing the table with people that eat animals. I completely agree with you, and I understand. I completely understand. I am not forced to share the table with those kind of people. But I have a lot of friends that they are always telling me that their families are not vegan. They say, for example, so my mom is not vegan and she is always trying me to make me eat eggs or dairy, and it's very uncomfortable, and I don't know what to say, and I don't know what to do. And I know that it must be difficult, but what would you recommend to those people that are every day struggling with these things that maybe for common people it's not a big deal, but to us it is, because as you said, it's not okay to see other person eating an animal. What would you recommend to those people that are vegans
Mhm.
and that are forced to share the table
Mhm.
with non-vegans?
Yeah. First I want to say, like, I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect, and I've messed up a bunch of times, even in the last year and a half. And I have literally been in situations where I just wasn't strong enough, and I did eat at a table where people were eating other animals. And what I tell people is, I say, like take it however you can take it. So, or like do it, practice it however you can practice it. So like if you can make the transition to like let's say with certain individuals, you like, for whatever reason, you just can't do it, but maybe like 85% of the situations you can do it. And I know a lot of people would argue with me and be like, well, that's not the pledge, like you're not doing the pledge. But just like, even just starting to do it, like trying to think, like I know some people, it's like there's a couple of situations like at work, or like there's a couple of occasions like a certain holiday, so let's say like 3, 4, 5 times out of the year they don't do it, but literally every other day of the year they do it, just as an example. Or let's say like everybody's different. Some people, they will like only eat in vegan restaurants, and I'm not like that at all. Like I will eat at a non-vegan restaurant as long as like what's at the table is all plant-based. And so I think everybody kind of takes it to their own degree of what they feel comfortable with, or what they like what they feel like is their boundary kind of. And so like I would say definitely, there's a support group on Facebook called like the Liberation Pledge support group or something, and I joined that group like way before I took the pledge, and that just like made me feel more comfortable with the idea of it. And it just, like, I heard from other people's others experience with it, and that helped me like so much, because it's not easy. Like it's like you have to have like difficult conversations, and you have to have them again and again and again, but ultimately they get so much easier. And don't be so hard on yourself. Like if you mess up, you mess up, and if you can't, you're in a situation and you just like can't have the conversation with that person, then don't have that conversation. It's okay, you're not ready yet. Like, and again, I know I can hear like people who are like, no, like don't do that, like do the right thing for, respect the animals. And I like, but it's like, just in general, I think like moving in that direction, I think it's very similar to going vegan. Like everybody's different. It's kind of just like this, at least for me, like my experience with it was like, I felt like it was a similar thing to going vegan, because it was like all of a sudden my lifestyle was just different. It's like, no, I only eat at plant-based tables now. And it's a big change. And yeah, it's hard for everyone in different ways. I don't think anybody it's easy for them. I don't think I think it's hard for everyone, and it's awkward, but it helps so much, like with just your human interpersonal like relationships, because like when you tell somebody about it, then you never ever they will like never ask you about veganism ever again. They just get it, and it's like, okay, done, I get it. And it's like there's no, well, what about protein, or what about, you know, all the questions we get asked. It's just like you don't even have to deal with any of that. It's like you bypass all that because you're at that point where you like, not only are you like somebody who, like, for people who aren't vegan, they often perceive veganism as, it's like they do see it as a diet. And so it's the best feeling in the world when you tell somebody about the pledge and they're just like, oh, so it's okay, so it's more than, you don't tell them I took a pledge. You explain to them, you're like, well, like, I'm a vegan, but I also, you know, I also don't eat at tables, you know, where non-human animals are being eaten, or their secretions, their ovulations. Like, I'm also that, like, and it's kind of like, sometimes every conversation's different. Sometimes it's kind of like you laugh and you're like, yeah, I'm that vegan, or like I'm, you know, I'm an activist, and I'm probably giving a really bad example of like how to have the conversation right now. I'm sorry. But the point is that when you do have a conversation, there's people talk about it online, and you can like figure out how to navigate that. But once you like tell somebody that, then it's just like, they will like never annoy you and ask you stupid questions, and they will see where you're coming from. And it's because you're consistent, and it's because I'm not trying to like shame anybody who doesn't take the pledge. I'm just saying that it's like, it makes sense to people around you. They like understand your veganism. Like, they just get it. And that's why I feel like if more activists take the pledge, like we will get to a vegan world faster. I don't want to philosophize too much into this. And again, I don't want to push this on anybody. But it's just like, it's really amazing to see how your entire like circle is then, anyway, I didn't mean to talk for like ever and ever about the Liberation Pledge, but it's okay. Yeah, I mean, it is that like domino effect, or like it's that effect of just like, you know, it's just like, it's beneficial to the human. Like, in my experience, like, it was just like all of the people in my life, all of the humans in my life, they just then were able to just, yeah, like, I don't know, they could just get it, and they could just like, you know, just get, like, it just made it just easier. And it was because I was more like embodying how I felt, and I was actually like living in alignment with my truth, with that sensitivity that I felt every time I sat down at a table. Like, just every time, it was just this like, ooh, this like feeling in my gut, in my, you know, whatever, in my body. And so to kind of be like, okay, I'm going to refuse to do that, but I'm also going to be super inclusive in that I'm going to, you know, and everybody's different. I happen to love to cook, so it's like less of a problem maybe, because I can just like help the person create the whole meal, or I can tell them how to do it, or we do it together, or whatever. And then in that sort of setting, there's like this freedom for my own self, because I can feel better. That sounds like selfish, but it's like, in day-to-day life, it's not selfish. It's like, no, that makes sense. Like, now I get to be more at ease with my meals than I did before. And that's important. We want to feel good when we're eating. Like, why do you want to feel like, ugh, when you're eating? And again, I keep saying this is just like one example, but I don't know, I'm losing my train of thought. Just like that connection to your body and knowing what's right and what's right for you. And that's different for everyone. So this is just my example. But yeah, I don't know. I'm forgetting what I'm getting all off track. That was a long response to your question. Yeah. Oh, cool, Augustina. Yeah, awesome. And Chris, very cool. And Sandra. Cool. Yeah, I mean, we can talk, you can message me anytime about the pledge. Like it was something that changed my life. Like seriously, it changed my life. Like it was one of those things, I was really scared to do it. It was like this giant leap of faith. I was just like, I mean, the first people I told were my parents, and I was like scared out of my mind. I was so scared. It was this whole thing. It was this whole thing. And in the end, like they support me and they love me. Like what are they, you know, like they care about me. They want what's best for me. And so yeah, the people who like love you are gonna understand. And why do you want people in your life who don't love you and understand you? Kind of. Anyway, so I see that we're coming to the hour, so I can wrap this up. I think on the little description, I kind of I wanted to talk about pleasure, which is similar to what I was saying about rest. Just know that like feeling pleasure and joy and experiencing the things that you love is just your birthright, and it's what you should always, what you allow yourself, what you have the capacity to feel on a regular basis. So whatever like the thing that makes you really happy, when you're feeling stuck, just do the thing that like, even just if it's just 10 minutes, like do something that just brings you pleasure. So like for me, that's like being in the kitchen and baking, or it's walking in the forest, or it's dancing. I love dancing. Getting into your body instead of like, and getting out of your head has the power of like changing your entire day. So yeah, just reconnecting, or a 10-minute meditation. There's so many good meditation, like guided meditations on YouTube. Jason Stevenson is really a good one, but there's a lot. And yeah, so just getting into back into like your body and into the things that you love, I've found is just like really helpful in day to day, especially when you're like in this frustrated space of like, you experienced something and it really hurt you and it really affected you, and you like let's say you're like trying to like, you're just trying and you're trying and you're trying to, I don't know, for me it's often like I'm trying to like write how I feel about something and I like can't find the right wording for it, or I'm trying to communicate to someone about something, and I just get frustrated and I'm like, I don't know how I can do this, or how I can be more of an effective activist or whatever. The best thing to do in like those moments is to like just go to your pleasure body, like let your body do something that it just loves. It doesn't have to be sexual. It might be sexual. That's also great. But going into into that, yeah. And yeah, okay, we're getting to the end. So I definitely just will continue to work with like activist Save Movement, which is part of Save Movement, I guess now. I used to be working with I was co-hosting listening circles, but those were like kind of specific for organizers, and I really want to do things that are for like all activists, that are just public events. So I might like, I don't know, start holding something that is just like open to everybody. So if there's anything that you guys would like want or you think would be cool, let me know. But I like the idea of like doing something like this where I'm like, I have like this was different because I was talking like the entire hour, but like I think it would be really cool to have like a little topic every week where we like a few minutes, then we also have it be like a sharing circle where people can like talk about their experiences with activism and self-care, and you know, then there could be like the meditation component or whatever. So yeah, so I just kind of wanted to like put that out there, put my feelers out there, and then you guys let me know. And also any feedback you have, also if it's negative, like just whatever, or if I said something that was like inappropriate, like please call me on it. Just, yeah. You're welcome, Lucy. Lucy's here.
Thank you so much, Gabriela. I took notes, so I have really important ones. One is, for example, you don't have to earn your rest and rest way more. I think that's amazing. And also put boundaries, and doing and experiencing things you love is your birthright. I think that's super beautiful. So thank you so much. And you're more than welcome to our activity support working group. We have a meeting tomorrow, actually, and we have weekly meetings.
Early in the morning. I know they're always so early.
At 10 a.m. East. Yeah, but if you want to help and you can be on the meetings, you can contact us on Slack and we can find a way for sure.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Definitely. Cool. Yeah. I know. I keep meaning to come to those meetings, and every time I wake up like too late because I'm on the West Coast, but still, it's no excuse. Oh, thank you so much, Lucy. That means so much to me because I've never, ever felt like a speaker, and I get nervous and sweaty, and and I always have to remind myself, get out of your head and get into your body and relax, and nobody's judging you. So thank you. That's really kind. Thank you, Leo. Yeah. So, what else was I going to say? The thing about you don't need to earn your rest, that's actually a meme, or like, I don't know who that's a quote from, but I'll find the meme and I'll like post it in our group or whatever on Slack. You're welcome, Shauna. Thank you everyone for the feedback. I think I will end with a quote. It's really short. And if anybody else wants to say anything, they can, of course. So this is from, I believe the source of this is, sorry if I'm saying it wrong, Resistencia Indígena, which is a collaboration of groups in the Amazon basin. And it says, we are not defending nature, we are nature defending itself. Yeah, we are not defending nature, we are nature defending itself. I love that quote.
Beautiful. I will write that now.
Yeah. Got that from Extinction Rebellion somewhere. Cool. Well, thank you so much, everyone. It means so much to me that you all showed up. Yeah. Yeah, totally. There was that meme when the coronavirus happened that was like, this is Mother Nature's way of like telling everybody to go to their room and think about what they've done. I'm like, oh my God, yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh, Sandra,
really
thank you.
Appreciate it. And I just have to go now, but I got a lot from this. So thank you very much indeed. And nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
Bye.
Bye. Cool. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I'll stop there.